What kind of pill is this? Not far away, even Gao Yuan was stunned. He had also tried to ponder the black pill in Xiao Yan's hand earlier, but he had never even heard of a pill like it. He scoured his memory, but couldn't find any pill even remotely similar to the one in Xiao Yan's hand. It seems that Xiao Yan wanted to study the heavenly refining technique 2 years ago. Could this black pill be a sacred pill? Gao Yuan's companion, Dan Yu, frowned and said, "Sacred pill? A sacred pill should have its own space inside, but the interior of this pill, it can't be detected at all. It feels like a black hole," Gao Yuan explained. Hearing this, Dan Yu narrowed his eyes slightly, then quickly made a decision. Use the dimension embryo to check Xiao Yan's activities in the heavenly spirit dimension over the past 2 years. Gao Yuan nodded, then immediately activated the dimension embryo to search for Xiao Yan's activity records over the past 2 years in the heavenly spirit dimension. As the ruler of the heavenly spirit dimension, Gao Yuan could easily do this. While Gao Yuan was using the dimension embryo to search for Xiao Yan's activity records, the 3 mystic kings, Lu Yu, and the others, including Lu Xian and Fan Wang, were all looking at the black pill in Xiao Yan's hand with a puzzled gaze. "Hey, stop acting mysterious. What exactly is this pill?" Just like everyone else around, Lu Xian and the others were eager to know what the black pill in Xiao Yan's hand actually was. "This is a pill I created over the past 2 years. As for the name, let's call it the Heavenly Soul Pill," Xiao Yan said, noticing the confusion on everyone's faces. He didn't beat around the bush and simply spoke. "Heavenly Soul Pill? You created this pill yourself?" Lu Xian and the others froze again after hearing Xiao Yan's words. Forget about the grade of the so-called Heavenly Soul Pill in Xiao Yan's hand, but for someone to create their own pill at the 10,000 Pills gathering. Wasn't this behavior a bit crazy? Creating one's own pill wasn't very difficult for alchemists who could refine heavenly pills, but at the 10,000 Pills gathering, almost no heavenly alchemist would do such a thing. The reason was simple. Creating a new pill was easy, but creating a high-grade pill was exponentially more difficult. To go further and create a new pill that could compete with a perfect-grade heavenly pill was nearly unimaginable in terms of difficulty, not because of a lack of inspiration, but because of the short time frame. If one could create a new perfect-grade heavenly pill within 2 years, wouldn't there be thousands or even tens of thousands of perfect-grade heavenly pills in the Great Thousand Worlds by now? Even those with extraordinary talent in pill refining usually took hundreds of years to create a new normal-grade heavenly pill. Therefore, at the 10,000 Pills gathering, high-level alchemists would simply use pills that had been created in the past, as these had been selected over thousands or even tens of thousands of years through a process of trial and error by countless alchemists. Xiao Yan had created a pill in just 2 years and wanted to compare it with Lu Xian's Heavenly Lotus Creation Pill or Elder Fan's Heavenly Essence Nectar. This was simply impossible. So, after hearing that Xiao Yan's black pill was self-created, the heavy weight in the hearts of Lu Yu and the others finally lifted. Almost at the same time, they mentally gave Xiao Yan a losing verdict. "Heh, self-created pills? Interesting. How about you tell us the effects of this Heavenly Soul Pill?" Mystic King Lu Yu asked with interest as he looked at the Heavenly Soul Pill in Xiao Yan's hand. However, Lu Xian and the others could clearly tell that Mystic King Lu Yu was mocking Xiao Yan. Seeing this mockery from Mystic King Lu Yu, Dan Yu sighed and glanced at Xiao Yan. He had to admit, if Xiao Yan were to succeed in creating a super pill that could compete with the strong at the 10,000 Pills gathering in just 2 years, Xiao Yan's name would undoubtedly go down in history as one of the miracles of the 10,000 Pills gathering over the past thousands of years. Obviously, Dan Yu didn't believe Xiao Yan could create such a rare, almost 1 in 10,000 miracle. "It doesn't matter. Go ahead and introduce the effects of this Heavenly Soul Pill," Dan Yu said to Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan nodded in response. He had already anticipated the reactions around him. He knew that to turn the situation around, the key would still lie in the Heavenly Soul Pill in his hand. So, under everyone's expectant gaze, Xiao Yan began to introduce his pill. What they heard next, and what they saw, was something that those in the flat world were not prepared for. In fact, years later, some of the participants of the 10,000 Pills gathering would look back and find it utterly unbelievable. The Heavenly Soul Pill doesn't have any other effects. Although it cannot increase one's spiritual power or provide a higher chance of breakthrough in one's cultivation realm, it can completely transform the user's divine soul. Even though the spiritual power realm won't reach the heavenly supreme, the divine soul will advance into the heavenly soul first. As for the success rate, as long as the divine soul hasn't been damaged, it should be. As Xiao Yan's words fell, the entire arena was silent. There was no uproar, but rather an overwhelming stillness. Most of the people's expressions remained unchanged, just like usual. However, those standing outside, such as Dan Xun'er, had a somewhat dazed look on their faces. They glanced at each other, and only after a few breaths did someone dare to voice a question. What did he just say? Did anyone catch that? It sounded like something about converting the divine soul into the heavenly soul. I think I might have heard wrong. That's impossible. Should we ask him to repeat it? Did we really hear that correctly? How could that be? The murmurs of discussion finally shattered the silence, and the expressions of people like Mystic King Luyu were filled with disbelief. Clan leader Danyu, according to the rules of the 10,000 Pills gathering, what should be done with someone who deceives their way to victory? Mystic King Luyu turned to Danyu and asked. This question, in fact, was also a concern for Fire Tianyang, Blood Pill King, Fan King, and Lu Xian. Since the concept of the heavenly soul had first emerged, it had been a term reserved exclusively for the heavenly supreme. To try and convert the divine soul into the heavenly soul without having reached the heavenly supreme level was simply laughable. There were only a few hundred heavenly supremes in the Great Thousand Worlds, while the number of powerful individuals attempting to reach that realm was tens of trillions of times greater than the number of heavenly supremes. If someone, whose spiritual energy had not reached the heavenly supreme level, could convert their divine soul into the heavenly soul, wouldn't the heavenly supremes of the Great Thousand Worlds go into an uproar? Indeed, even if Xiao Yan's statement was false, it was still an indirect challenge to all the heavenly supreme experts in the Great Thousand Worlds. At this moment, Danyu stood there in a daze. Xiao Yan's words had taken him completely by surprise. If it weren't for Xiao Yan representing the Do domain and forming an alliance with the Pill God clan and the ancient Myriad Grass Plains, Danyu would have already revoked Xiao Yan's qualification to participate. Xiao Yan, let me confirm again. Were you joking just now? Danyu asked cautiously, still unsure of whether to believe him. Clan leader Dan, you can ask anyone to test it with me, Xiao Yan replied with a faint smile. Xun'er, come here. As soon as Xiao Yan finished speaking, Danyu immediately shouted towards a group of people standing nearby. Hearing this, Xun'er swiftly moved and appeared in front of Xiao Yan and the others. At the same time, Mystic King Luyu and the others stepped back a bit. At this moment, within the 100-meter radius around Xiao Yan, there were only Xun'er and Danyu. As for the retreat of Mystic King Luyu and the others, Xiao Yan alone felt that it was meaningless. Even if they retreated 1,000 miles, it would be the same as not retreating at all. Xiao Yan, although this pill may have cost you 2 years of your time, you can see the situation now. If this heavenly soul pill is destroyed, my Pill God clan will provide you with any materials you need to refine a new one, along with a compensation of 30 million supreme spiritual liquid, Danyu said to Xiao Yan. He then pointed to Xun'er. She is my daughter. If you are not joking, then please hand the heavenly soul pill to her for testing. Clan leader Danyu, there's no need to worry so much. In fact, I intended to gift this pill to the Pill God clan, Xiao Yan said as he looked at Xun'er. He then handed the heavenly soul pill to her. Swallow it and, if you trust me, fully merge your divine soul into the heavenly soul pill. The heavenly soul pill is simply a medium for converting the divine soul into the heavenly soul. There's no need to refine it within your body. In fact, you'll need to use the Supreme Seed to protect the heavenly soul pill. After that, your divine soul will need some time, about 10 minutes or so, to adapt within the pill. In the end, all you need to do is extend your divine soul's perception outward, as far as you can. It better be real. After hearing Xiao Yan's serious explanation, Xun'er was even more skeptical. She glanced at Xiao Yan. If you trick me, I'll have my father beat you to death. Xiao Yan didn't respond. He just smiled faintly. Then, Xun'er followed his instructions, swallowing the heavenly soul pill and moving it into the Supreme Sea for protection. Inside the vast Supreme Sea, a palm-sized shadow sped toward the heavenly soul pill. It was Dan Ling Air's divine soul. Whoosh! Dan Ling Air's divine soul, rushing from deep within the Supreme Sea, hovered in front of the heavenly soul pill. However, her divine soul's expression was a bit solemn as she realized that none of her sensing abilities could penetrate the black pill's interior. "If you dare trick me, I'll make you regret it." Gritting her silver teeth, Dan Ling Air's divine soul, having made up her mind, finally moved, entering the heavenly soul pill. At the same time, the people outside, including Dan Yu and those near Dan Ling Air, saw their pupils shrink in shock. Everyone need not worry. She has merely entered a certain world. As the aura of Dan Ling Air's divine soul faded, Xiao Yin spoke to everyone around him. Upon hearing Xiao Yin, Dan Yu furrowed his brows slightly, seemingly pondering something. A certain world? Next, the tens of thousands of alchemists outside, along with the 8 people inside the arena, were all immersed in a waiting period that lasted more than 10 minutes. For cultivators like them, 10 minutes could pass in the blink of an eye, but this time, the wait felt unusually long. Time seemed to slow to an almost unbearable crawl, though it was only an illusion brought on by the waiting. After nearly 10 minutes of this, some began to lose hope. They looked at Xiao Yin with sympathy, having already concluded that waiting like this would yield no results. They believed Xiao Yin was merely stalling for time. However, just as this thought crossed the minds of some, an unbelievable scene unfolded before everyone, one that would forever turn the name Flame Emperor Xiao Yin into a legend in the alchemy world of the Great Thousand Worlds. What everyone saw was their surroundings beginning to warp. As this distortion intensified, in just a few breaths of time, the world before them was completely overturned. Some powerful beings below the supreme stage felt a dizzying sensation, but when they regained their composure, they realized that everything had changed. The scene that now unfolded was almost beyond words, yet beneath the stunned silence lay an unprecedented shock. Tens of thousands of people, who had just moments ago been in the flat world, were now arrayed in a massive square formation, roughly 180 people wide and long, with each individual spaced several meters apart. The formation spanned nearly 1,000 yards in total. In this vast formation, the most renowned senior alchemists in the Great Thousand Worlds were lined up by some unknown force, like an army preparing for battle. At the forefront of this army, 2 figures stood in commanding positions, Dan Yu and Gao Yuan, their expressions a mix of disbelief and frustration. In front of the commanders, there was another figure, Dan Ling Air, who still exuded no divine soul aura. Such a military formation, if it were to march through the Great Thousand Worlds, would likely make even the ancient races break out in a cold sweat. But this neatly arranged formation only lasted for a few breaths before it suddenly exploded apart, and everyone was thrown into chaos. What happened? Who did this? Damn it! What the hell? Who moved us around like this? As the 1,000-yard formation broke apart and crumbled into disarray, the chaotic shouts and curses filled the air. Among those caught in the formation were Xian King Lu Yu and others, their expressions darker than ever. They were some of the most elite alchemists in the Great Thousand Worlds, yet they had been manipulated like this, leaving them feeling humiliated. However, amid the confusion, there was one person with a satisfied smile on his face, Xiao Yin. At that moment, Dan Yu, who had been standing at the front of the formation, could no longer hold back. He took a furious step forward and shouted at Dan Ling Air, who still had no divine soul aura. Ling Air, enough. Who told you to cause such trouble? Dan Yu's roar was so powerful that it shocked everyone in the flat world, forcing them to freeze in their tracks. This was the true might of a heavenly supreme. A single command could shake the very heavens. When those who had halted their frantic movements turned their gaze back to the front of the formation, they were stunned. Dan Ling Air, who had been devoid of any divine soul aura, was now slowly opening her eyes. A look of unprecedented joy appeared on her face. She, who had seemed like a soulless body in the perception of others, was now moving once again, just like before. Perhaps unable to suppress her joy, Xun'er first turned to Danyu with a grin and said, "Father, so it turns out that you heavenly supremes can have such abilities. The feeling of controlling the world and changing everything is so much fun." The moment her words rang out, the entire arena erupted in a clamor, with some cursing mixed in. It turned out that it was Xun'er who had just moved them all and arranged them into the formation, and she had done it just for fun. First of all, being able to instantaneously move everyone and arrange them as before is only something that the Heavenly Supreme can accomplish. It's a feat that requires mastery of spatial movement. The Heavenly Supreme can do this because their heavenly soul has merged with the heavens, making it a part of them. However, Xun'er is merely a lower dimension Earth Supreme. How could she possibly possess such power? Could it be that Xiaoyan's heavenly soul pill truly possesses such an almost miraculous ability? With this thought, everyone quickly realized why Xun'er had no divine soul aura. It's because that aura had transformed into heavenly soul, which is a part of the heavens and thus cannot be easily detected. The only reason Danyu could sense this and understand everything was because he himself was also a heavenly supreme. Everyone. Does my heavenly soul pill differ at all from what I just displayed? At the moment everyone comprehended the situation, a faint chuckle echoed in the flat dimension. All eyes turned to see that it was Xiaoyan speaking, but now the gazes directed at him had shifted from mockery to unprecedented reverence. In this situation, almost no one dared to refute Xiaoyan's words, though a few still did. Patriarch Danyu, I suspect that this heavenly soul pill is not merely a pill at all, but rather a spiritual artifact of heavenly grade. The skeptic was still Mystic King Luyu, who found it hard to believe that there could be a pill capable of transforming the divine soul of someone who is not a heavenly supreme into a heavenly soul. That left only one other possibility, which was that Xiaoyan had used some unknown method. Mystic King Luyu speculated that only a spiritual artifact could achieve such a thing. Xiaoyan's expression soured at Mystic King Luyu's suspicions. It seemed he was deliberately making things difficult. However, just as Mystic King Luyu questioned the validity of Xiaoyan's heavenly soul pill, another voice resonated in the flat dimension. On behalf of the ancient myriad grass plains and the Pill God clan, I hereby announce that the final champion of this 10,000 pills gathering belongs to Xiaoyan. The resounding voice carried a sense of heavenly authority, and as everyone turned to look at its source, they saw Gao Yuan, who was holding the dimension embryo. His declaration cemented the champion's throne firmly for Xiaoyan. The champion of this 10,000 pills gathering belongs to Xiaoyan. After Gao Yuan announced this result, while holding the dimension embryo, everyone looked at him with disbelief. Most felt that this outcome was quite unexpected and bewildering. Although Xiaoyan's heavenly soul pill had indeed left everyone in awe, especially with its ability to transform divine souls into heavenly souls, the skepticism triggered by Mystic King Luyu had caused those who were once astonished to begin questioning again. Was Xiaoyan's heavenly soul pill truly within the category of pills? If not, then Gao Yuan's direct declaration of Xiaoyan as champion seemed rather rash, and among those who thought Gao Yuan acted hastily were also Danyu and Lu Xian. Swish! The sound of something slicing through the air rang out as Danyu maneuvered through the crowd and landed in front of Gao Yuan. He gestured for everyone to step back. Upon seeing Danyu's gesture, all attendees quickly understood and, as before, withdrew from the vast arena. Soon, only 9 individuals remained. Lu Xian and her 6 companions, who had reached the final elimination round, naturally stayed, while the remaining 3 included Danyu and Gao Yuan, as well as Xun'er. At that moment, Mystic King Luyu and his 5 companions focused their attention on Danyu and Gao Yuan. They occasionally glanced at Xiaoyan and Xun'er. Even though Gao Yuan had declared the champion of the 10,000 pills gathering, they would not be satisfied without substantial evidence. Mystic King Luyu and his companions were among the highest-ranking alchemists in the Great Thousand Worlds. If the result of the 10,000 pills gathering could not convince them, the future reputation of the gathering would inevitably suffer, and Danyu clearly understood this principle. Gao Yuan, isn't your direct announcement of the result a bit hasty? After everyone had stepped back, Danyu questioned Gao Yuan, who was holding the dimension embryo. He glanced at the dimension embryo in Gao Yuan's hand. Previously, He had asked Gao Yuan to use it to search for Xiao Yan's records over the past 2 years in the heavenly spirit dimension. While Dan Yu was still speculating, Gao Yuan's gaze slightly narrowed, not far away. At the same time, a voice, which could only be transmitted through the heavenly soul, spread into Dan Yu's mind. It's the heart of Maha. The voice that resonated in Dan Yu's heart came from Gao Yuan. Both of them were true heavenly supreme experts. With Gao Yuan's abilities, only Dan Yu could hear him through the heavenly soul. However, after hearing Gao Yuan's words, Dan Yu's expression changed. The heart of Maha? Is it related to the heavenly soul pill that Xiaoyan refined? Dan Yu quickly asked Gao Yuan. Even though this was a conversation at the heavenly soul level, Dan Yu's excitement was evident. The heart of Maha meant the Maha divine tree, and the seed of that tree had been obtained a century ago. The Maha divine tree in the heavenly spirit dimension was the result of a century of cultivation. In fact, in the past century, although the 10,000 pills gathering had been held 3 times, with thousands of advanced alchemists witnessing the Maha divine tree, no alchemist had ever used the heart of Maha from the tree as an ingredient. There were 3 reasons for this. The first reason was that almost no one recognized the Maha divine tree, as it was a top-secret item of the Maha divine clan. The second reason was that no one had ever successfully harvested the heart of Maha from the tree, as it would instantly lose its efficacy once separated from the tree. The final reason was even more obvious. Among the tens of billions of pills in the Great Thousand Worlds, from spirit pills to heavenly pills and divine pills, none of the ingredients were the heart of Maha. Thus, although the Maha divine tree was a closely guarded secret of the Maha divine clan, Gao Yuan and Dan Yu openly planted it in the heavenly spirit dimension. They weren't afraid of offending the Maha divine clan, as no one could use the fruits from the tree. But now, Xiao had actually used the heart of Maha, which was why Dan Yu's expression changed. Xiao had actually figured out how to use the heart of Maha. Yes, Xiao heavenly soul pill is indeed closely related to the heart of Maha. In fact, if we trace it back, the heart of Maha is the key ingredient for that heavenly soul pill. Gao Yuan responded through the heavenly soul. How did he manage it? Dan Yu immediately asked. The reason why the heart of Maha loses its efficacy once separated from the Maha divine tree is that when it's connected to the tree, it absorbs nearly endless growth energy. Once detached, it loses this energy source and becomes ineffective almost instantly. Within less than a fraction of a second, Gao Yuan explained. In the records of the Dimension Embryo, about 1.5 years ago, Xiao successfully extracted the heart of Maha while maintaining its efficacy. The method he used was to create a secondary energy source outside the Maha divine tree to supply the heart of Maha with the necessary growth energy. Xiao removed a large number of leaves from the tree, refined enough growth energy from them, and then compressed it into a liquid. After wrapping the heart of Maha with this liquid, he was able to extract it without it losing its efficacy immediately. Such sharp insight. He actually discovered this method. He must have used the heavenly soul to examine the energy flow inside the Maha divine tree, right? Upon hearing Gao Yuan's explanation, Dan Yu was once again slightly surprised. In truth, Dan Yu had noticed this method before, but since he wasn't sure how to use the heart of Maha, he hadn't attempted to harvest it. Then how did he use the heart of Maha? This was the question that Dan Yu cared about the most now. Although the heart of Maha seems simple, its meaning in Maha is vast, and Xiao made use of this characteristic. He created a tiny space inside the heart of Maha and then used the heart's effect to expand this tiny space into something enormous. Essentially, Xiao created a dimensional space within that tiny area. When Ling Er's divine soul entered the heavenly soul pill earlier, it likely reached that dimensional space. One of the reasons her soul aura disappeared was that she is no longer in the same realm as us, Gao Yuan explained. Is that possible? Xiao could think of such a thing? Dan Yu was increasingly astonished by what Gao Yuan said. He couldn't imagine how Xiao, in just 2 years, could come up with such a genius-level method. Moreover, if Gao Yuan's information was correct, then Xiao would be the first alchemist in the Great Thousand Worlds to use the heart of Maha as an ingredient in pill refining. The heavenly soul pill is a dimensional realm within itself, so in a way, it has surpassed the perfection of a heavenly pill and reached the level of a sacred pill. Not only that, the heavenly soul pill was truly created by Xiao. Gao Yuan continued. Xiao refined a sacred pill, so, without a doubt, he will be the champion of the 10,000 pills gathering. As for why it can transform divine souls into heavenly souls, you'll have to ask Xiao himself, because these records go beyond the scope of the heavenly spirit dimension. I couldn't find any details even using the dimension embryo. The reason I used the heavenly soul to communicate with you is to discuss whether we should reveal these findings to the alchemist present. If we don't explain in detail, they may not accept it. However, if we reveal everything, I found a Maha divine clan alchemist in the records of the dimension embryo. If he learns of this, although we don't need to worry, it could cause some trouble for Xiao. That is indeed a problem, Danyu murmured thoughtfully. As Gao Yuan mentioned, this could bring trouble to Xiao. However, after some consideration, Danyu decided. After all, this isn't the first time Xiao has had conflicts with the Maha divine clan. Last time, the Maha heaven directly attacked the Do domain. I suspect Xiao relationship with the Maha divine clan won't change much in the future. So, we should proceed according to the rules of the 10,000 pills gathering and announce this matter. Since you've decided, I will join you in this. Honestly, I believe that with Xiao potential in the next century, he might develop strength that could make the Maha divine clan wary. So, everything is still uncertain. Having made their final decision, Danyu and Gao Yuan immediately withdrew from the conversation with the heavenly soul. Although they had spoken for quite some time, in reality, only a few breaths had passed. This was the mystery of the heavenly soul's level. Afterward, with Danyu's support, Gao Yuan thoroughly conveyed the content of his previous conversation with Danyu's heavenly soul to the tens of thousands of alchemists in the flat world. From here on, the new material, Maha's heart, would spread throughout the great thousand worlds, becoming known to all alchemists. However, regarding the current situation, the shock brought on by Gao Yuan's narrative was unprecedented for all the alchemists. Even Xuanwang Luyu, Lu Xian, and the others were no exception. Their astonishment was like hearing a myth. But as expected, the storm was bound to arrive. Among the thousands of attendees, 2 of them were barely able to contain themselves. They were powerful figures from the Maha Divine Tree and the True Dragon Clan. In reality, due to the use of Ma's heart by Xiao, in a few years, a great battle would erupt in the Endless Fire domain. However, that was a story for another time. After hearing Gao Yuan's recount of the records found within the dimension embryo, everyone was in disbelief. Even Fan Wang and Lu Xian, who had been confident before, were now completely convinced. As for Xuanwang Luyu, he finally confirmed that the heavenly soul pill in Xiao hands was indeed a pill and not a heavenly spirit weapon. However, even if it were a pill, the heavenly soul pill was vastly different from ordinary pills. It couldn't be refined. The final shock came when they realized Ma's heart was such an existence. Over the past 2 years, anyone who had passed through the heavenly spirit dimension and seen the Maha Divine Clan had no idea that the tree was actually a closely guarded secret of the Maha Divine Clan. No wonder almost no one had known about it. But just like Danyu and Gao Yuan, everyone now knew the general process of making the heavenly soul pill. Yet, they still couldn't understand how it could convert a divine soul into a heavenly soul. Although Xiao wasn't obligated to explain in detail, since that might be the true core method of making the heavenly soul pill, everyone was still curious to know how he managed it. Xiao, since everyone is so curious, if you're willing, why not satisfy their curiosity? Danyu said to Xiao. Of course, if this is the core secret of the heavenly soul pill, as its creator, you are perfectly entitled to keep it secret. When Danyu asked this question, everyone around them looked at Xiao with great anticipation. As Danyu mentioned, Xiao was fully within his rights to keep the secret, but the crowd still hoped he would satisfy their curiosity. After all, curiosity is often a Dan master's greatest strength, as is the case now. Xiao understood that this was his first time presenting himself in the alchemist world of the Great Thousand Worlds. As his reputation and influence would be crucial in his future developments in the Do domain world, he chose not to keep it secret. Instead, he explained to the eager crowd how the heavenly soul pill could transform a divine soul into a heavenly soul. It's actually not that complicated. Inside the heavenly soul pill, there's a dimensional space, but this space was originally unowned and hadn't yet produced a dimension embryo. However, the absence of a dimension embryo doesn't mean it can't produce one. When a divine soul enters this space, it becomes a special kind of dimension embryo, Xiao explained. Making the divine soul into the dimension embryo within that space is one of the 3 steps in transforming it into a heavenly soul. The second step involves using Maha's heart to perform its original function, expanding the dimensional space. The outer world then becomes the vessel, and a specific area of the outer world is designated as the controlling range for the special dimension embryo. The extent to which it can be expanded depends on the user's divine soul's probing ability. As long as the probing ability can reach a certain area, that becomes the range of the dimension. Earlier, Xun'er enveloped the dimensional space here. Within this range, she was the true master of the dimension. This is somewhat similar to the way heavenly supreme experts draw boundaries in the world and control the heavens. The difference is in the level of control, and Xun'er is not invincible within her domain. As long as someone exceeds her strength by 2 levels, they can easily escape her control. Everyone here was mobilized only because no one was on guard. That is the principle and effect of the heavenly soul pill, Xiao concluded. As Xiao finished explaining, those around him were left in greater awe of him. Xuanwang Luyu and the others were completely speechless. It is now clear beyond doubt that the heavenly soul pill in Xiao possession has reached the level of a sacred pill. Although the other perfect-grade heavenly pills and the incredibly refined human alchemy techniques are dazzling, they are simply not on the same level when compared to Xiao heavenly soul pill. What kind of existence is the sacred pill? In the thousands of sessions of the 10,000 pills gathering over the past tens of thousands of years, the number of alchemists who have participated has long surpassed tens of millions. Yet, only a few sessions have actually seen the appearance of a sacred pill, and when excluding some instances of cheating, there have been fewer than 10. Remarkable. 2 years ago, you were already studying the alchemy of the heavens, but at the time, I didn't take it seriously. I thought even if you could accomplish it, it wouldn't be at the 10,000 pills gathering. After hearing Xiao full explanation, Danyu's admiration for Xiao rose to a whole new level. Since becoming the clan leader of the Pill God clan, he had overseen 6 or 7 sessions of the 10,000 pills gathering, but this was the first time he had seen a sacred pill appear at the event. Looking back now, choosing Xiao and the Do domain as allies for the domain guard plan was undoubtedly the right decision. I lost, and I accept my defeat wholeheartedly. Not far from Xiao the Mystic King Luyu, Fire Tianyong, and Blood Pill King, who had initially believed they could win the championship, now had no words. If the 2 pages of the ancient pill scripture from Lucian and Fan King had made them feel a great sense of crisis, then Xiao had already left them far behind. From the very beginning, human alchemy had been outmatched by the sacred pill. Fan King's eyes narrowed slightly. Xiao move completely exceeded his expectations. Although he still wore a faint smile on his face, his heart was extremely uncomfortable. Originally, at this 10,000 pills gathering, he had come to seek justice from Xiao on behalf of the Divine Medicine sect. However, just before the start of the 5 elimination rounds, he discovered that Xiao strength was far beyond his ability to gauge. As the Grand Elder of the Divine Medicine sect, Fan King had long entered the perfected Earth Supreme stage, and the unfathomable aura from Xiao made him think only of the Heavenly Supreme. Since Xiao was a Heavenly Supreme, Fan King immediately rejected all prior assumptions. A Heavenly Supreme was not someone he could afford to provoke. As a result, during the following 5 elimination rounds, Fan King became just another ordinary participant and passed each round in order. What he could do now was only wait for the champion of the 10,000 pills gathering. But Xiao heavenly soul pill blocked everything Fan King could attempt, leaving him in a very awkward position. However, despite this discomfort, he didn't dare to show it. As for Lucian, she never expected that Xiao, whom she had met in the Xuanfu domain just half a year ago, would have such a miraculous proficiency in alchemy. Xiao progress to the final elimination round had already surprised her, but the real shock was the heavenly soul pill. Perhaps from now on, she wouldn't dare to easily talk about alliances with Xiao. Before, She had only offered Xiao Yin a position as the Grand Elder or Deputy Alliance Leader, but given the current situation, the one who should hold the Elder's position was none other than herself. I remember you wanted to form an alliance with me. Just as Lu Xian was pondering and preparing not to bring up the matter of an alliance with Xiao Yin again, a faint voice reached her ears. It wasn't loud, and under the protection of spiritual energy, only Lu Xian could hear it. The voice was Xiao Yan's. Forget it. Your future is limitless. This alliance probably isn't suitable for you. Just don't laugh at me. Upon hearing Xiao Yan's voice, Lu Xian rolled her eyes. Although she had already realized that Xiao Yin far surpassed her in both alchemy and cultivation, as someone who valued face, she clearly had her own pride. Hee, no one is born with limitless potential. As for the alliance, I've thought it over. If you truly have that goal, I, Xiao Yin, am willing to support you in establishing this alliance. As for the position, just give the elder role to me. No need for the alliance leader. I prefer freedom. Let those who are skilled in management take care of those affairs. Xiao Yin responded with a light smile. As for the conditions of joining, there are some. I knew it. Hearing this, Lu Xian gave Xiao Yin an exasperated look. Go ahead. There's one thing I need to know first, Xiao Yin said. What is it? Lu Xian asked. You're only at the spiritual energy cultivation of the 8th grade supreme, and even your divine soul power isn't at the level of Earth Supreme. But you've managed to refine a perfect grade heavenly pill from the ancient pill scripture. Hee, I'm not stupid. With your own power, you wouldn't be able to perform alchemy at the heavenly pill level. So, you must have some other source of power, right? Xiao Yin said. Upon hearing this, Lu Xian's expression flickered. Your power source isn't the divine soul of some powerful being residing within your body, right? Xiao Yin asked. It's a method I was born with, Lu Xian replied. That's it. My condition is that I want that method of yours. Fighting beyond one's level is not uncommon, but refining pills beyond one's level is truly unbelievable, Xiao Yin said. The Do domain world I come from has just been born, and everything is in its infancy. If you can help me, then recruit a few talented disciples in the Do domain. If they can learn your method of refining pills beyond their level, it will be extremely beneficial to our Do domain. Is there a labor fee? Lu Xian asked with a faint smile. 8 million supreme spiritual liquid per year, with increases in the future, Xiao Yin replied. Upon hearing this, Lu Xian pondered for a moment before finally nodding in agreement. Deal. After Xiao Yin and Lu Xian reached the agreement, they returned from their quiet conversation to the surrounding commotion. By now, the champion of the 10,000 Pills gathering had been confirmed as Xiao Yin. The fierce competition from earlier would soon spread across the great 1,000 Worlds pill refinement circles like wildfire after the gathering concluded. The name of Flame Emperor Xiao Yin had made its first appearance on the prominent platform of the Great 1,000 Worlds, where everyone would know it. Everyone. The champion of this 10,000 Pills gathering belongs to Flame Emperor Xiao Yin. There should be no objections, right? Danyu addressed all the alchemists outside the arena, and everyone nodded. Xiao Yan's heavenly soul pill was the only sacred pill here, so there was no dispute about his victory. According to the rules of the 10,000 Pills gathering, the champion can freely become a senior elder in either the Pill God clan or the ancient myriad grass plains. So now, Xiao Yin has rightfully earned this qualification, Danyu said, then looked at Xiao Yin. This matter won't be discussed publicly here. After the gathering ends, we will give Xiao Yin enough time to make his choice, and the final decision rests with him. Xiao Yin smiled at these words. The 10,000 Pills gathering, which had taken 2 years in the heavenly spirit dimension, was finally nearing its end, and he was about to return to the Do domain, where he would reunite with his family and old friends after nearly a year of separation. He couldn't help but wonder how Xiao, who had fallen into a deep sleep, was doing now. Thinking of this, Xiao Yin turned his gaze to a figure standing not far away. Ming Jiuhua, a celestial elder sent by the Ming clan to participate in the gathering. However, Ming Jiuhua had been eliminated from the final championship match due to his choice of pills in the earlier rounds. Despite that, when it came to pill refinement, he was probably not inferior to Fire Tianyang, Fan King, and others. As Xiao Yan's gaze fell on him, Ming Zhuhua noticed and smiled gently at Xiao Yan like an elder. He was extremely impressed by Xiao Yan's performance earlier. Aside from Xiao Yan, the other 8 who made it to the final elimination round also performed exceptionally and will receive a volume of the Heavenly Pill Refining Method as a reward from the Pill God Clan after the 10,000 pills gathering. Danyu continued addressing the crowd. The people who hadn't made it to the 5th round of elimination were stunned upon hearing this. The Pill God Clan, renowned for its deep heritage, had just given away 8 volumes of the Heavenly Pill Refining Method. To put it into perspective, such refining methods could sell for tens of millions of supreme, spiritual liquid at an auction in the Great Thousand Worlds. Then, this 10,000 pills gathering is officially concluded, Danyu finally announced. As he finished, Gao Yuan beside him activated the dimension embryo in his hand. In the next moment, everyone felt the world before them twist and spin, and as the encroaching darkness enveloped them, they were sent tumbling through space. In an instant, when their vision cleared, they found themselves standing before an endless mountain range.